I'm Jean Szulc and welcome. In this video we'll talk about musical transitions and a few different methods that you can transition between sections in your music. So basically, musical transitions blend the different sections of your music and they hide that vertical cut, like this section ends here and the next one starts there. So when you have a transition, you make so that the listener can blend or go through ideas in a way that it won't catch their attention, like they won't see that there is like a clear vertical cut between the different sections, and it just helps the listener organize the ideas in their mind. It makes it like easier for them to understand what's coming and what has already gone, and it helps them actually go through a smoother flow of ideas. So before we get onto the actual musical transitions that you can use, it is important that you have some knowledge on like musical form, because it is important for you to understand the ideas in your piece so that you can transition between them. And not only that, it is important to have in mind that transitions, they are an accessory. They are not that much part of a piece. What's important is that it serves the purpose of blending two ideas, and it's not exactly like you're adding a new section. Whenever you add stuff, it's because it serves the whole piece and not simply because you want it to sound cool. You know, it's important to have something that serves the purpose. So if you don't know anything about musical form, I'll leave a link here in the cards so that you can see another video of mine in which I talk about this. So if you have no idea about musical form, watch that video first. So the first transitioning method is the most simple one, and it's almost like there is no transition. So what happens in this first situation is that you have two ideas that you want to transition between. And something that's specific about these two ideas is that they are very close to each other. They sound like each other. They are like close. They have a lot of things in common. So if you have a melody that has a lot in common with each other, then the transition perhaps won't even be necessary, like to add something to transition, because the listener will already have an idea of like an idea has ended, a new one has started, but they look like each other, they sound like each other. So like the transition goes smoothly without actually having to add anything in between. This is important to like assess if you actually need a transition, because if your ideas are too close to each other, perhaps you don't even need a transition and the listener will just flow through the piece without an effort. Now in the second situation, perhaps both of your ideas don't flow very well between each other, so you want to guarantee that the listener understands that one idea has ended and the another one has started, but in a way that sounds smooth, right? So how do you do it? Something you can do to prepare the listener for the new idea to come, if it is a little bit different from the first one, you can add a little bit of motivic, rhythmic material before that new section has actually started. So a few measures before the new section starts and the first one ends, right? You can add a little bit of what's to come there. You know, you can perhaps add the new instrument that is coming in. You can perhaps add the rhythm that is going to appear in the accompaniment. You can perhaps add I don't know, the new motif that is ascending to this new section. It all depends on the context you're in. So you have to assess what's going on and what can you take from the next section and introduce into the previous one right before the other one starts. And you can see this all the time. If you look at pieces from the classical and romantic periods, it's just really, really common. You just have to notice them. And when you're listening to music, just try to see new things that are introduced a little bit before the section actually starts. Now, the third method is quite close to what we already had in the second one, and it's instead of adding the material from the previous section into the new one, you can do the opposite, and you just extend the material from the previous section into the new section. So instead of just cutting it, you just take the motif, the rhythmic motif, perhaps just a rhythm, a little melodic ending, whatever it is, and you just put it into the new section and allow the music, the last section to overlap a little bit the previous one. This is very useful because it allows the listener to actually understand that you're already in a new section, but the previous one is still fading and is like melting into the new section. Now, the fourth situation, and it's more of a method this time, it is very interesting because like it is more specific and it creates more specific results. Like all of those other methods, they usually just help with the flow. But in this method, in this situation, you just want to have a specific effect from it. So what I'm talking about, you have basically two sections in which they don't transition into each other. One just decreases and the other one increases, like gradually and at the same time. So it's like the first section hasn't even ended and it's like slowly ending, like you can perhaps see that it's coming to an end, but the next one has already started. So you don't even have like that much of a transition. You just have two elements, one is coming and then the other one appears and just start to like steal this more prominent place in the like listener's ears. So the fifth and last method, which is the broadest one, it actually encompasses a lot of stuff, including like all the ones that previously we mentioned. This one is basically you add a whole new section in between both of your sections that you want to transition between. So it's like instead of you ending on a section and directly starting on another and perhaps doing something there, like not exactly in between them, but like within them to make them blend well, what you have is you like separate them and you add something in the middle, right? So you have a completely new section that helps you blend whatever came before to whatever will come after. So it is very broad because with this, while having like a whole new section in between two sections, you can like do whatever you want and whatever you feel like is necessary for you to have like a good blend between two sections. So what I mean by this is you can use whatever you feel is necessary in between, including all the previously quoted methods. So like, for example, you can have like an 8-measure melody and another 8-measure melody. So you want to blend them. So you add like 4 measures in between perhaps, and then you like end the like first section there, like in the middle of the like transition, and then you start the next section like in the middle of the transition as well. Like you can have like a whole new melodic idea, like if it serves the purpose well, like if it transitions between the two, you can have like a very like long transition, perhaps like you can have scales going on, like everything you can possibly imagine can happen in this type of musical transition because you're adding a whole new section. So if the section helps the two sections, like the previous one and the latter one, to transition, then it works. Like that's what transition is for. It's just important that you don't use this transition in a way that detracts the attention of the listener, because perhaps if you have like too much of a transition, like a transition that calls too much attention to it, it might like actually steal the attention from the previous and the next section. Like it just has to help the piece flow better between two ideas. It shouldn't like simply steal the attention, be like a thing of its own. So this is very important. This applies to all the previous methods, and it's just really important that you always be like critical about the transitions you write, because perhaps it doesn't work and you have to rewrite it, and rewriting is like very important if you're a composer. Like you just have to rewrite the stuff you think does not work. So like if something you feel like it doesn't work, just rewrite it, find a new way of doing it. So like I usually give a few pieces to analyze so that you can learn from them, like kind of like homework. This time I want to give you a piece of mine to analyze, because my last piece I made a huge effort to have like seamless musical transitions, and I think I did a really good job at it. The piece I'm talking about, it's my sextet for winds and piano. I'll link it here in the card so that you can watch it. But the thing is, I think this is a very good piece because I have various sections. Like there are sections that last like 4 measures, you know, or 8 measures, and I have to transition like from them to the next section very seamlessly, because this was very important in that scenario. Like I wanted to have seamless transitions, and I have all types of transitions. Like all the transitions I quoted here, I have used them in my piece. So it's important that you like take your time through it. You try to guess like when a new idea is coming, what did I do to make it seem like a new idea is coming, like after an idea ends, like what did I do for it, like the previous idea to end well while the next one is still going, when did I like have two ongoing like ideas, one that is ending while the other one is already coming in before the one like the previous one has ended, like all sorts of stuff. You will find everything in there. Just take your time. Don't forget to click the link I put here in the cards. Thank you a lot for watching. I hope this helped you in any way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, because I will post a lot more stuff like this, and if you subscribe you will get notified. Don't forget to leave a comment if I helped you, and I want to know that I helped you, and I want to have some feedback on what can I improve. Just let me know. Thank you a lot for watching. I'll see you next time.